everybody else is all over the fucking place, right? You know, they're way over here doing this, and it's more like I'm like this,
Yeah. Yeah.
like a fucking laser.
You know, I really like the 10 Steps to Success book. After high school, instead of going to college, I just got I got a job screen printing T-shirts, and I could listen to audiobooks. So I was really into listening to like Napoleon Hill and Bob Proctor and all kinds of stuff like that.
Oh, tight.
And yours is like kind of like a spin on those books, but it's got like an edgier quality to it, and it's more straightforward and everything. And so from there I was able to get a job doing videography, and I kind of worked my way up and became manager at this company for 5 years, doing videography. So I'm making wedding videos and corporate commercials and training videos and things like that. And I'm kind of ready to take it up to the next level. I have a hard time finding the time and the motivation to make these things happen, with a full-time job. And I don't know, I just thought you would have some good feedback.
Definitely.
To make it happen.
Make it happen.
I'm turning 30 in a couple days, and I really kind of want to transition into this new phase of putting my projects first, and seeing them manifest into reality. When I'm working full time, when I used to be going into the office, I get really depressed when I feel like I'm not, when I feel like I have someone controlling me. I get kind of like, it like almost saps my energy going out and being in an office, answering phone calls. And I'm shooting wedding videos too, so I'm out there sweating my ass off, following a bride and groom around with the camera, pretending to be all happy and stuff like that. And
absolutely.
So I get kind of like, I get in these moods where I get kind of bitter, and I just, I have these other things I want to do. I have ideas for films, and I already make a lot of stuff that when I have the time, when I try to, but there's a lot of stuff I still want to do, but then I kind of just am like, it's not so much an energy level thing. I think I'm, I could probably work on my fitness a little bit more, which I haven't done in a while, but it's more of like an attitude thing. I'm just kind of like, fuck this shit, and I'm just like, I'm just like, I don't feel like, at a certain point, I don't feel like going after my real dreams. I just want to get through the day and, just get through it and just say, all right, fuck it, I'm going home now.
Yeah, and then call it a day at that point.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess you're saying it's like you have your grind, and it's like you're spending all that mental energy on that, whatever 6 hour, 8 hour, 10 hour block, and then you go home and it's like your brain is mush, and you're like, fuck, I want to work on my music, but it's like, I'm not.
Yeah.
You're not in that high IQ state. You're down here where it's more like, okay, it's time to just watch some Netflix and like relax, right?
Yeah, for sure. That's why I'm kind of like talking to people like you. I'm talking to other people in my life who I trust, just to get some feedback on, is it possible to get to that next level?
Oh, absolutely, man. When you're saying that, it just kind of reminds me of like, there was another client that was kind of similar, and he was working security, and he was doing like, it was weird at first because he was on night shift, so he had to work graveyard. So he worked like, and he wanted to be a rapper, so he was like working from 12 or 11 at night until 7 in the morning, and then I guess he would come home, and he's like, there's no way. He's like, I've been walking around the casino, kicking out drunks and hookers, and dealing with the what are they called, the pit bosses, with changing out the money and stuff like that. And he's like, dude, my brain is mush. Like, I can't work on my music, right. Especially at like 7 in the morning. It's just, he's like, the last thing I want to do is more work. Right. I just want to go to bed. And it was more like, I kind of suggested, is like, you got to get off that night shift. Like, you got to get on something where it's more normal. And then like, I was like, can you extend your shift? Like, instead of doing 5 8s, can you do 4 10s, or can you do like 3 12s or whatever? Even if even if that's like under 40 hours, now you're working like 36 hours for 312s, but then you have 4 more days off. So anyway, he worked around it. I think he had changed his schedule, and I think he got down to the 410s or whatever. I don't think they would let him do the 3. Forgot what happened, but when he worked down to 410s, now he was working like whatever 10 a.m. to like whatever 8 p.m. or whatever it was. So he would bust his ass for those. He would get his 40 hours done in 4 days, but then he had the other 3 days, like Friday, Saturday, Sunday, off. So it was like, so his whole Friday was pretty much, okay, I just busted my ass for 4 days. I'm going to sleep on Friday, but then Saturday and Sunday just hit the ground running, where he's like, okay, now I'm going to write lyrics. Now I'm going to start working on my, YouTube videos and stuff like that. And then it was like,
cool.
And I have a home studio here, so he had got a couple sessions, and I helped him record some of his songs. Just a thought, maybe if somehow you could, like, if you had even just 1 day less, if you can get like 3 days in a row or 4 days in a row, even if it's a pay cut at first, at least it will give you more time to work on your stuff.
Still do some work for them, but have a little more control over my time.
Yeah, and of course you want to make sure that you're still making enough for your rent and for your food and your bills, your cell phone, and leisure money, of course. But I think it's like the 3 things is like you need the time, you need the energy, and you need the mood. When there's that extra bit of time when you're like, okay, I know that I don't have to go to work tomorrow. I have enough energy. I'm in the zone. I'm in the mood. I can just go ham on this for several hours and try to just, like what I like to call, I think I put a post about it recently. Like the concept was called chiseling, which I talk about in the book too. Which is like you have, a big ass mountain. It's not gonna move in one day, but if you chisel a little bit at that mountain every day, like I said, like Rome wasn't built in a day, and I didn't write that book in a day, but I wrote a chapter a day, and then over the course of like that whole year and a half, then finally I had a book. So like maybe thinking of it in chunks. Like, what's that? I think there's a saying that's like you eat an elephant one bite at a time.
I have another question about I'm really into Napoleon Hill and Rhonda Byrne and things like that, and I feel like I have like manifested things in the past just from just weird coincidences have happened. I'm wondering, do you have any sort of practices for like visualization, goal setting, things like that?
Absolutely. Do you ever use vision boards?
I've heard of it. I haven't actually done that before.
We'll just make this the whiteboard for a second.
Yeah.
You take like a poster board and pick a picture of you and put it into the middle. So like, and then you want to like go through magazines, go through Google or anything like that, and pick like pictures that kind of represent the type of life that you want. Like maybe, the type of money that you're making, the type of house that you're living in. They talk about this on The Secret too, but
right.
If you're into relationships, like the type of relationship, the type of girls that you want, or like I said, the type of job, the type of lifestyle. Maybe like for mine, when I started doing it in I think I started doing vision boards in like 2008, 2009-ish, something like that. Anyway, I was trying to enhance my lifestyle because at that time it was really before social media. It was just MySpace and stuff, and I wanted to figure out how to let girls know that I was living this awesome lifestyle and that they should be a part of it. And I was like, well, how could I do that? And I was like, well, what about skydiving? What about rock climbing? What about like doing interesting things like that? And so I just started cutting out pictures of like people jumping out of planes and people climbing these Mount Everest things. And I mean, I never climbed Mount Everest or something, but it gave me the idea. And then basically you take the vision board and you can like either put on your wall, or for me, I put it above my bed so that right when I wake up in the morning, it's the first thing I see. And then I take a couple minutes just to look up at it, and I'm like, I'll imagine that that's me and that I'm already living that life now. Like, ooh, I'm out there climbing that rock, and I want to feel like in my mind the tactile, visceral feelings of like gripping that rock, and what's it gonna be like? How's the air gonna be? Like, oh, I'm in the warm sun out here, whatever. So I just really start visualizing it, and 5-10 minutes a day, and after a while, like it might not happen like right that second, but all of a sudden, then you start getting that inspiration, or you're sitting there on the computer, and then in the back of your mind, all of a sudden you're like, man, that'd be kind of fun. Like, fuck it, I'm gonna do this. And then like the next thing, your body is just moving into action. I was telling a buddy about this kind of principle the other day, because now you have Instagram, and you can follow different accounts and stuff like that. Like if you wanted to learn how to cook, maybe you don't know shit about cooking, but you go on Instagram and you look hashtag like healthy cooking or whatever. So you start following, you know, a bunch of chefs. You follow Gordon Ramsay, you follow like all kinds of like people that are doing exotic cuisine or things that you like. And you don't really notice it at first, but every day now you're flipping through your phone and you see this pasta meal and you're like, oh, it looks pretty good. You know, maybe you screenshot or something, scrolling along. Oh, wow, you see this other kind of meal. But that stuff starts, you know, implanting itself in your head like seeds, and they still slowly start sprouting. And next thing you know, it could be like a week or a month later, and you're walking through, you know, Smith's or Vaughn's or Whole Foods or whatever, and you're shopping, and then that you see the pasta, you see the sauce, and then like the dots start clicking where you're like, huh, I kind of like that meal that I saw on Instagram. Like, I just need the pasta and the sauce, and then what, like the meat and some cheese, and next thing you know, you're sitting home and you're cooking, and then that fucking meal is on the plate in front of you, and you're like, wow, I just manifested this pasta out of thin air that I didn't even know how to cook before. In terms of the vision board, like you can basically say like, okay, I want to, you know, just get the pictures of the things that you want, put them on there, and just start looking at it, start thinking about it, and don't expect results like instantaneously, but over time, like it gets weird because. What's that?
Like a garden, you know? Growing
the garden, yeah, exactly.
Right.
And then over time, what's weird about mine, it was so weird because something that was on my vision board was a picture of a dude with 3 girls, right? Because he had just had a foursome or something like that. And at the time, you know, my game was weak back then, as I was just getting into the game. But I was like, man, ultimately, yeah, it'd be so tight to do that. And it was interesting because like a year later, I got rid of that, you know, the vision board. I had moved into a new place, and I was dating this chick who was bisexual, and I was fucking her and her friend. And then she had another friend, and things kind of happened, and I didn't think about it, but it was like another year had gone by, and I was watching an old home video, and I had forgot all about the picture of the dude with the girls on it on the vision board, but it had been up on my wall for like months. But there was a video where I was like freestyle rapping, and the vision board was in the corner, and the video is, you know, it's from like 2 years before, so it's 2 years in the future now after that had already happened with my girl and her 2 friends. So I'm like, one day I'm just watching this video and I'm like, wait a minute, and I paused it and I was like, dude, like that happened, and I didn't even know it. And I was like, that's fucking awesome. And it was kind of like the same thing on the movie The Secret, the Rhonda Byrne one, where the guy had like, he put the picture of his house on the vision board, and I guess he got rid of the vision board, and 5 years went by, and he ended up buying a new house, and he didn't even connect the dots that he had bought the exact house that was on his vision board. And he says it wasn't a house like it, it was the exact house. So it's just weird how that, like, it works sometimes.
Something I'll have to start doing.
Something I do that might help you as well, like just for like increasing your energy, is like what I call kind of like the same thing with the clean focus, but I call it clean sleep, and which is more like the way that I have the walls kind of blacked out in my room at night, but I also will use sometimes the eye mask, and I'll use earplugs just to make it completely dark, completely silent, and making sure that my phone is off. And I don't even charge my phone in the same room. I charge my phone in like the living room. So the you know, there's no alerts, there's no weird Amber alerts, like my mom's not gonna call me in the middle of the night, or you know, I'm not gonna get any dings where it's like, because a lot of people, especially like all the high school kids that are like hooked on Instagram and stuff, like mom will send them, okay, go to bed, and then they're sleeping next to their phone, and like every 5 minutes they're waking up to check, oh, did I get any likes on my pictures? Or, oh, hey, like, you know, maybe I'm trying to, you know, Susie DM'd me or whatever, and then they fall asleep and they wake back up, and it's like in the morning fucking trash because you didn't get that proper sleep. But a lot of times, like,
Yeah.
when I use that clean sleep concept, then it's like when I wake up in the morning, I'm like, ooh, I'm really refreshed. Being in that higher state, that higher cognitive state, then you're like, ooh, I'm just going to, like, I want to jump into this. This is going to be pleasureful. It's not going to feel like work. It's not going to be difficult. It's not going to be, drudgery. It's like, ooh, I'm excited to do this now. I'm excited to get on the computer and write this new chapter in my book.
Do you have any advice on just a general advice on just increasing confidence?
Imagine like you have two people. This will be like one, like this is a full circle. There's no holes or gaps in it, and this one's kind of, it's got a couple gaps or something like that. So I kind of like use this as a representation of like, let's say a real man or whatever like that. This guy is like, he has very firm boundaries, and like he can't be influenced by outside circumstances. He knows who he is, and he's like, he knows his values, like, so you can't persuade me or whatever. Like I'm making up my own mind. I'm making up my own mood. I'm controlling my own emotions. I'm in full control. Like I don't react to outside circumstances. If anything, they're gonna react to me because I'm the one who's on that path. And I'm so dominant on that path that other people will look and they end up following you. Versus like this guy over here on the right, where it's like he's got chinks in his armor. It's easy for someone to kind of get in here, get under his skin, kind of push him around and influence him to do something. Kind of like, I could walk up to two people. Let's say I'm trying to sell them drugs, like a peer pressure thing. And I talk to this guy, and this person's like, no, I don't do that. Okay, fine. Like I just can't persuade him. He's stuck in his. All right, he's not interested. Whereas this guy's like, hey man, buy these drugs, and he's like, well, I don't know, because and you're like, come on, Bob, and then he's like, all right, fine. You know what I'm saying? So.
No, that is like me actually. As much as I don't want to admit it, it's like I'm not really surrounded by a lot of people that like try to push me to do anything, or I have very cool friends and they're all chill and everything, but occasionally if I'm ever confronted with some pushy person who's, I don't know, just wants something out of me or wants to, I don't know, they a lot of times will get their way with me. So that's kind of why I'm asking, is I'm just like, they'll try to get something out of me, and I'll just most of the time I'll just give it to them just to shut them up. I'll just be like, all right, man, sure, whatever, just get out of here.
Okay.
And, but that's just that. I don't want it to be like that. But
what I like to do sometimes is it sounds kind of crazy, but I like to imagine like a bubble around me.
Yeah.
And if you can kind of see that bubble, and you can create in your mind whatever that bubble is made out of. It could be like a solid electrical energy, or just this impenetrable bubble, and people are talking shit, and you're just kind of like, I'm in my bubble. You can't touch me here in this bubble.
Right.
It sounds weird, but I don't know. Sometimes I just live in that bubble, and nobody can touch me.
How do you deal with negativity? You ever like feel negativity about certain things? You seem like a pretty positive dude. Sometimes I feel negative about stuff, and I just feel just kind of bitter. Do you have any advice for that?
Sure. There's a lot of there's so much stuff going on, let's say, in the world right now. My goals personally are more like about women and relationships and stuff like that. So like my goals aren't necessarily about like getting rich. I want to, I'm trying to find like the right woman and things like that. So it's kind of like sometimes, blah, 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 this is going on over here. But I'm like, no, that has nothing to do with me, getting ready to go, to the nightclub to try to meet girls or something like that. Like, I'm like, that's what I'm focused on. And if I'm not going out to the nightclub, then I'm going to the gym to lift weights so I can become more attractive, so that the next time I go out, then it to be like even easier to get those girls. And when I'm not doing that, yeah, then I want to work on this book because I want to make more money to build that bank account. And I'm just so focused on my path that I'm like, the rest of the stuff
so just,
doesn't exist. Or
just shift it as soon as, you know, there's a lot of people, like you said, on Facebook and everywhere, social media, people trying to rile everyone up about different issues going on in the world, and it's just a matter of, so what you're saying is just a matter of just shifting focus back to, you know, back to yourself and back to what's at hand here.
Everybody else is all over the fucking place, right? You know, they're way over here doing this, and it's more like I'm like this.
Yeah.
Like a fucking laser. Like I'm on my path. I don't care about the rest of the stuff going on. I've got to do what Ryan has to do. Does that make sense?
Right.
Not that I'm not like, not that I don't have other things going on. Like, yeah, I care about my family, my friends. You know, I want to help people out and do things like that. But at the end, it's like I have to kind of put blinders on to the rest of the world and all the stuff that really is irrelevant to whatever else is what I'm trying to accomplish.
Yep. You know, I really appreciate you taking the time. You know, I respect what you do, and you're kind of like a Renaissance man.
Oh, appreciate
that. So, you know, I appreciate, you know, your take on, you know, these questions. Like I said, I'm kind of asking a bunch of people whose opinions I trust. And I think that's something you mentioned in your book too, is like, you know, who do you listen to? So I'm asking people whose opinions I trust, so I really appreciate the feedback.
Oh, that's cool, man. I appreciate that.
No problem.
Yeah, like on that, like I like to just go, you know, like the people that you're influenced by, like you said, like Rhonda Byrne or Bob Proctor, stuff like that, and it's like when you're just going to those kind of sources, you're like, because you're like, you know, there's a lot of people that do work like that, but maybe you're more attracted to that specific individual, and it's like when you get into what they're doing and then you're just listening to them, you're gonna start picking up a lot of their behaviors. And there's this saying that says like you're the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. When you look at like your 5 best friends or whatever, you could tell like how much money are they making, and you know, where are they at in their life. And like it is so weird because like you kind of become the average of that. However, you can either like stay with that, or you can kind of like change and meet and associate with different people, or even I think through Instagram sometimes, like the people that I'm most influenced by that I have on my social media, I notice that I'm starting to pick stuff up from them, the way they think, and then I'm starting to get more results like them, though, depending on who I'm focusing on or who I'm studying at that time. And it's like I like to take a bunch of people and then take all the best parts of what I like, because I know, you know, there could be someone that's like, oh, I really like how they do this, but I don't like how they do this. I think someone had asked me this question, and they're like, who do you like better, Britney Spears or Paris Hilton? And I'm like, well, I like Paris for her business aspects, for her entrepreneurial mindset and things like that. You know, her music, not so much, but in terms of the way she runs businesses and the fact that she can like run a skincare company and then fly to Ibiza and sell out a crowd with her DJ stuff and then fly back to New York and do this. I'm like, wow, that's something that I would like in my life. And then I look at someone else and I'm like, oh, I really like this particular music artist, like, I don't know, Taylor Swift or something like that. I like the way that she does her live shows, but I like this person's actual song. So I kind of just pick and choose. Ooh, I really like this, and I want to integrate that all into like a new, better version of me.
Yeah, and I can see that too. You know, you've created your own like your own unique character. There's certainly no other Ryan Jaunzemis. There's, you know,
that's funny.
You've got like, there's not another pro soaper, pickup artist, author / rapper. There, you know, it's so that's why I was reaching out for your advice, because I see you doing all this stuff, and I can kind of relate to some of the ways in which, you know, you have all these different you know, avenues that you're you've mastered. So yeah, I value your feedback on all this.
I appreciate that, man. Yeah, I mean, I hope some of that stuff helps and
Absolutely.
gets you to that next level. I mean, just keep
Absolutely, yeah.
striving every day to become like a better version of you than you were yesterday. And like,
Yeah.
at least for me, I try not to compete with other people. I used to be like that when I was a teenager, and I felt like now I look back and I'm like, it was kind of like a waste of time because nobody cares anyway. And it's just kind of like at the end
Right.
of the day, it's going to be you looking back at your reflection in the mirror, and you got to be happy with yourself and where you're at and with your progress. So I stopped comparing myself or competing with anyone else. Now I'll get inspired or influenced by someone else, but I'm not like, oh, I got to be better than them. It's more like, and now there's enough market out there for everybody to be the best that they can be and still have an
Yeah.
audience and still make money off of it.
For sure.